delegates and guide the session further. Thank you, and I wish the session meaningful deliberation. Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning, everybody. Since we are already running behind time, I will not take a long time in introducing the galaxy of my fellow stalwart educationists on the stage. Professor K. Pandam, the chairperson of the session. He is from one of the premier institutions of India, the University at Baroda. Welcome, sir. Then to his left is Professor Sajid Jamal, sir. We all know our former colleague, now leading the Aligarh Muslim University as a senior professor in the Department of Education. Welcome, sir. And then, as we are all finding difficult to pronounce your name, from Norway, Dr. I will not try the next two words. Welcome you. And then here, Dr. Anuradha, familiar face from Institution of Hyderabad, English and Foreign University. Madam is professor in the Department of Education. On the other side of the dais, the research scholars and my student friends for today's plenary 2. So,
very good morning to all of you. I welcome all of you for the second plenary session of this two-day international conference. On the pathways, the future pathways for teacher education. Friends, since a couple of years, we have been about revitalizing education and finding out pathways for teacher education. But the UNESCO came out with a report in 2020. It says there is no one future that we are going to witness in future. There are multiple futures. Therefore, the report in this context has multiple futures. Prepare ourselves as teacher educators and also prepare the teachers of the future classrooms into face these multiple futures. Friends, one thing I would like to say, that teacher education cannot be a one-time activity. Whether it is a one-year program or 2 years program, or now the 4-year integrated program, no program of this tenures cannot really guarantee a good teacher. What is most important is we must realize that teacher education is an ongoing process. Teacher education is an evolving process. We need to sensitize the responsibilities of the teachers and teacher educators, movement, every interaction they have within the classrooms, out outside the classrooms, they exercise their leadership. Therefore, teachers basically evolve and the teachers cannot be trained. And you talk about training in the context of quality education. Most of the time, we believe that quality education comes through the policies alone. And another important thing I would like to present to you, however, the policies we make, we design, all the policies comes to nothing if the teachers are not owning the policies and implementing in the real classroom practices. Therefore, teachers are our real hope. And unless and until teachers are evolving demands of the society, the quality education is not possible. So how this quality of the teachers is vital and how it can be really developed is the great concern today. We only talk about the quality of students learning. And friends, the quality of students learning is not possible unless and until there is a quality of the teachers learning. Therefore, the whole concern is how to make our teachers as lifelong learners. Researchers have really come out with alternative models of preparing our teachers. So some models talk about you give a kind of a training program to them over a period of time and expose them to the latest developments of education and the technology, so on and so forth. And you expect them to actually bring those learnings into the classroom practices. Probably this is what NEP 2020 is also talking about. It says every teacher need to have at least 50 hours of professional learning. Therefore, this professional learning will really activate the teaching learning process in the classrooms. But now the question is, what is the mode of delivery of having these professional development programs? Whether these programs are organized by a centralized systems, or these programs need to be more where the teachers come forward, identify their professional needs, and also understand their and the programs. There are a lot of research on professional development of teachers have actually come into the past. It says the teachers can, provided they are sensitized to their professional practices. So what is that sensitization process actually happens? The sensitization begins from the realization that the teachers are not only the teachers of the classrooms, teachers are not only the teachers of the subjects they teach, but the teachers are at the larger canvas. They need to be identified as the change makers. They need to be identified as the social transformers. I think this perspective actually gives a lot of insights into, therefore, how to make it. As you know, the teachers are adult learners. And therefore, what kind of the characteristics they bring when they actually put themselves into teaching learning process is more important. Whether it is a kind of a discourses we organize in the context that matters much, or you ask them to read and a very traditional patterns that we have in terms of right examinations through which they learn, or we need to formulate what you call it as professional learning communities among the teachers. I think this word is frequently appearing in the literature of teacher education. We need to focus about professional learning communities. What does it mean? It means the knowledge that we actually use in our teaching learning process need to be co-created by professional practitioners. So the co-creation of knowledge, which is fundamental for any teacher preparation programs. So the co-creation of knowledge basically evolves out of their professional practices and the challenges they face within the classroom situations. Therefore, how to bring this insight into the front and make kind of a learning experience the teacher educators. The only possible thing is to create what you call the professional learning communities of teachers. So friends, when you talk about learning communities, especially in the context of teachers, we come across the teacher unions. The teacher unions is a well-known, practice usually you find cutting across the country and cutting across the globe. So they basically talk about the professional, the demands, the work conditions of the teachers. And they are also very important. But we go beyond this debating about the work conditions or creating that kind of a professional demands of the teachers. We also need to come out with the core knowledge, which is essential to strengthen our professional practices. Identifying each teacher educator or each teacher working in school as a body of knowledge, a body of experience. And those experiences need to be unfolded and those experiences need to be shared. The only thing which is possible is to bring them together and keeping them at one place, allowing them to speak from their own experiences. And there is a need to have a reflective dialogue between the teacher educators. The reflective dialogue is not on the basis of the theory, but the application of the theory into professional practices. I think, friends, we somewhere need to break the isolation of teachers and teacher educators, and we need to bring the collaboration and cooperation. We have been talking about the collaborative teaching, the collaborative, cooperative learning in the children's context. I think the time has come, also need to think about how to make these collaborative, cooperative methodologies for the teacher education as well. So how it can be done? There are the principles of organizing the professional learning communities. The first and foremost is the allowing teachers to speak. I think the speaking in a public domain and the speaking in terms of their professional practices and challenges are gradually becoming diluted. In a sense, it has become more or less a private practice. It is a privacy practice. No teacher is interested to share the kind of challenges he or she is facing in the classroom context. So what is more, we need to make private practices, it should be in the public domain. There should be a place where teachers come forward, identify challenges, and collaboratively resolve those problems. I think the collaborative problem solving need to be the essential component of any education program, any teacher preparation program that we talk about. The second most important thing is to see that how certain the challenges they face, whether you talk in terms of implementing a policy into the context or integrating the technology into the classroom things, or the managing the several aspects which are the essential elements of the teacher professional work. I think these things can be effectively collaborated when we break the isolation teacher position in the, though we see the subject teachers come together. But when they come together, they hardly discuss about any professional challenges. Probably there are n number of reasons why they are not open up their professional, the difficulties in the classrooms. I think the most important and the most challenging thing today to make teacher education more effective and engaging is to break the isolation. We must break the isolation of teaching practices, and we need to connect the dots of every teacher's experience in the classrooms, and experiences will result into the co-creation of knowledge, and that knowledge becomes more impactful and more relevant. And this practice essentially comes out with three important elements. The moment you break the isolation, you allow teachers to come together, they share their experience and knowledge and co-create it and collectively exercise the teaching learning processes. It actually enhances three things. One is the professional engagement of teachers, which is a very, very important aspect. The teachers' professional engagement essentially reflects their identification not only as a teacher dealing a subject, but also having the kind of a dialogue, the conversations, and the professional, what you call the negotiations with all kinds of stakeholders, which is a very, very important aspect to talk about. So the engagement of the teachers, not only within the students and the teachers, but also within the teachers, within the institution, within the teachers as a community at regional, national, and the global levels, which is the most important today to make it. The second is this professional learning communities leads to a kind of what you call enjoyment. You know, the teaching not necessarily be a very serious activity where you present yourself in a very serious way, and you also expect the people to be so serious in a professional context. Friends, this is absolutely, please, only happy people can make others happy. Unless and until we are happy as professionals, we cannot make happy students, make happy teachers, and make a system transformed. So how to make this teaching more enjoyable in the professional preparation is also our concern, and the professional learning communities have that potential to transform the institutions into a happy organizations. And the third and the last one, and I'm getting the instruction from my co-chair, and the last one is the empowerment. Friends, most of the time, if you see what is happening in teacher education, we as teacher educators always look for the instructions coming from the top, instructions coming from somewhere, maybe from a policy agency or the government. Therefore, the voices of the teachers with regard to what need to be incorporated to make our teaching learning process more impactful and more joyful and more engaging, I think these are very, very important. It's only possible when we create professional learning communities, a strong teachers. This network is absolutely different from what you call it as a teacher unions, and teacher unions talks about the professional conditions of the teachers, and the professional communities talks about professional practices of teachers, and that is the end of the hour. So friends, in this session, we have the galaxy of speakers. We have about the 7-8 speakers. Few of them will be presenting offline and few are in online. So looking into the time, each one will get maybe about 7 to 8 minutes. Being the chairman, I took the liberate to take little more time for me, excuse. And I request with this Professor Anuradha, she'll be talking about the Indian knowledge systems and the teacher development. Professor Anuradha, please.
Good morning, all my colleagues on the dais and colleagues on the other side, students, and all the participants. Thank you. Really, my friend Vanaja, all the time making me a part of all your celebrations. It's always like a homecoming, because every time you have here as the colleagues in this another central university. Let me not all this. I picked from where Pushpanadam sir left. He spoke about knowledge creation and knowledge co-creation. Let us think of creating the wheel. Is there a need for us to create the wheel? Knowledge. Already it is created long back, because the knowledge of creativity is within us, we could have lots of revolution in industry and so any knowledge system of any place is very important as it long back, and the knowledge of that invention has to be taken into the present research and development. Keeping that in view, NEP has brought in Indian knowledge systems as a support for the existing, and especially when we take teacher development as an aspect, it is very, very important that we don't create the path for development without taking into consideration what has been paved as a way by the earlier system of knowledge, which is very rich in India. When we look at what we have, and why should we look at what we have? What we have is a rich culture, historically recorded, at least 5,000 plus years of recorded history of development related to so many branches. And then the specialization, which is continuous in its nature. Any knowledge that is created by any society is important because we know that as humans, we are different because we have that rational thinking and then reasoning behind everything that we do. Keeping that into mind, we need to remember that any knowledge has to be learned and then saved and transmitted. One is identity. The knowledge system is our own identity. Wherever we go, we have our flag as the Indian flag, the tricolor flag, but the cultural identity that we have. And now, especially where we are the third largest economy emerging, we should remember that the identity that we have is not a smaller one. And also the culture. The various parts of the country have this rich culture and artifacts related to culture, the science and technology that comes from the culture. And the third aspect that we are supposed to remember is the knowledge that is received. Lots of information related to various fields. We can speak of mathematics. We can speak of science. We can speak of humanities. You name, you have information about that. So it's very important that we take this knowledge that is received from the ancient Indian system, and from there we go in developing the nuances and the modern research and development. We have here as the economic value. When I say Indian knowledge system, for many, you feel that it is only Ramayana and Mahabharata. No. Small things like having patent rights on neem, patent rights on turmeric. Every person sitting at mothers or grandmothers use turmeric for various reasons, from cooking to the beauty necessities and the health and wellness necessities. But you don't have the patent rights. Somebody else got patent rights through the US patent necessities. What happens if we do not have patent rights on turmeric or anything else? We cannot use turmeric without the permission, and for that permission, we have to pay huge amounts. When you know it already, so again, we started fighting. Like this, is there a need for us to use economic value for those things that we know? So these 4 things in mind, we have to understand that rightly NEP 2020 has introduced the necessity for bringing in what knowledge systems do we have, and then incorporate that to bring in the latest changes, mix them together, and march with 2 colorful feathers. One is that the rich knowledge system that we have. The second feather is the latest research and development that we could bring in. And who is the best person for that than a teacher? If the teachers are equipped at all levels, right from schooling to higher education, if they again try to bring in the knowledge that's there, which we lost because of the Machiavellian system of education, that we can do more wonders. So it's very important that at all levels, especially the teachers who are going to be trained for various levels, and especially the teacher educators at all levels, should have knowledge in Indian systems. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam. Ketki Bandari from Australia, Dr. Ketki Bandari. She'll be talking about the inclusive education in initial teacher education, reflections from Australian context. Over to Dr. Ketki Bandari. Yeah. Are you there? Yes. Yes, Dr. Ketke, you can
Yes.
proceed.
Are you able to hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, you are audible. Yes, you are
All right.
audible.
Thank you.
Yes, you are
Thank you.
audible.
Thank you,
Yes, you are audible.
Dr. Vanaja.
Thank you,
for
Dr.
inviting me.
Vanaja.
Okay, I think this might work better. So thank you very much for inviting me, and it is wonderful to hear all the interesting talks about the new policy in India and all the wonderful things that are happening. So thank you for having me to talk about inclusive education in Australia. So it is about having this understanding. Basically, I won't take a lot of time, but just to present the understanding of inclusive education in Australia. And this is based on my own reflections from my own teaching. So I'm a teacher educator. I teach undergraduate and postgraduate students here in Australia at Monash University. And I have been involved in inclusive education course for past few years. So this was a great opportunity to see what inclusion looks like here in Australia and in comparison with how it's done in India. So inclusion here is seen as a separate concept from special education. And it is seen in a different, not separate completely, but seen as a separate concept from special education in the sense that it is education for all students. So students with and without disability. So we have lots of policies in Australia that mandate inclusive education, which means that students from all cultural, religious, educational language backgrounds, and students with and without disability should be educated in the same school. So the central idea is for the schools to change for students rather than students adapting to their educational environment. So to do that, we train our teachers to use different frameworks. There are main framework that we use is Universal Design for Learning. And in Universal Design for Learning, what we do is we adapt our teaching. So we teach the teachers to actually change their teaching policies and their teaching approaches to suit the students in their classroom. So what they actually do is to understand the need of each of their students and then plan their lessons accordingly. So there is no one lesson that everyone is doing. Rather, the lesson is adapted and modified in such a way that each student can approach it at the level that they're at. So even if the student has, let's say, learning disability, or they might have some hearing impairment issues, the lesson is presented in such a way that the student is able to engage with it in their own way. So the idea is to change the teaching, how we present information as teachers. We present information through audio, video, through captions, through written words, through verbal instructions, and not just use one way. So it's called multiple means of representation. There's multiple means of action and expression where we expect students to show their learning in different ways. So it's not just through written piece of paper. Rather, it could be a presentation, it could be a video. So the students have choices. Students have choices to engage with the medium that they want to engage with when they're showing their learning to their teachers. And also multiple means of engagement, which is about how we can keep the students motivated to complete their task, how we can make sure that they again have choice on maybe the activity that they choose. So there are a few activities that are laid out for them, and then they can go pick the one that attracts their interest and makes them go through the activity till the end, that they're not bored, they're not going off task behavior. So we have these UDL, Universal Design for Learning, that we teach our students or teach our pre-service teachers for their own teaching profession. But what I would like to talk about briefly is how I do that in my teaching. So what I do is, when I'm working with pre-service teacher in my initial teacher education programs, I kind of incorporate that model in how I present information. And I think if the teachers experience it themselves, when they go into classrooms, they can actually apply it. So there is lots of times the teachers feel, how can inclusion be possible? Because if you have to think about different needs of all students, of diverse students, how can you plan for so many students? But when we actually let them experience it, the whole model in their own teacher education, they feel, how can I make it possible for my students? And they start finding ways of incorporating students in their classroom. So the next point, and I suppose that's the last point I'll be making, is the collaborative learning. We teach our pre-service teachers to do collaborative learning with their students. And when we are doing that, we actually make lots of group work for them. So we let them work in groups with each other when they are with us. And sometimes their assessment tasks, their assignments are based on group work as well. So they are working with each other. And when they are doing that, they actually can figure out, what's the best way to incorporate this sort of collaborative learning in their own teaching, because they see the problems, they see the challenges, they see how to overcome these challenges, because they have to do it in their own courses. So we use a lot of collaborative learning for them. We expect them to, work in groups, and we structure groups in different ways. Sometimes it is self-allocated groups. They can choose groups. Sometimes we put them in groups, and in that way we kind of go through that collaborative process with them. And it has its challenges and it has its strengths, because sometimes students will have issues when they're working together with each other, but that's the thing that they are learning. So I think considering time, I will just leave you with this thought, is that we want our teachers to be inclusive. And if we want them to be inclusive, and by inclusive, I mean they're learning to include all students and expect participation from all students in their classroom, with or without disability, despite all the diverse needs, then we need to actively think about our own teaching as pre-service teachers, or teacher educators. How can we bring inclusion in our practices so that we can make confident teachers for tomorrow? Thank you very much for your time, and happy to answer any questions. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Friends, may I request Professor Sajid Jamal, Sajid Jamal. He'll be talking about navigating ITEP implementation, key challenges and practical solutions. Professor Sajid Jamal, please.
दस्ते मासूम को वो लौहो कलम देता है, नौनिहालों को वो किंदीले हरम देता है, रोशनी बांटता फिरता है वो सूरज की तरह, डूबता है सितारों को जन्म देता है. Respected Professor Pushpanandam sir, Vanaja ma'am, Anuradha ma'am, Jasim sir, my friend from Norway, और सामीन की सफ़ों में मौजूद आफ्ताब व महताब. A very good morning to one and all. The topic already has been mentioned by sir. In fact, we are implementing ITEP, and as per the records of the NCT, 77 educational institutions across the country have implemented it. And from my colleagues and of course interacting with the learner professors like you, I have come to some conclusion. What are the challenges we are facing with implementation of ITEP, and some practical solutions definitely I will try to suggest. There are so many, of course. So it's related to awareness, it's related to infrastructure, related to the pedagogy, and so many. So I think on the slides, come to the third slide. So I have put all those 10 challenges in shown to you one by one. So to the slide. Yeah, next slide. So challenge number 1, limited awareness. And at this juncture of time, I would like to mention that we as teacher educators, learned persons from the society, definitely we have certain kind of awareness about ITEP. Stakeholder in the whole system, that is the parent. Somehow, I mean, we are missing them. I mean, they are also need to be sensitized towards the importance of this ITEP. And I think somehow some programs should, so that they might know about the benefits of ITEP, so that they may motivate their sons and daughters to join this program. So in my opinion, this is a big challenge. Coming to the second one, of course, shortage of trained faculty. This is a big issue. And in this context, as Professor Pushpanandam sir mentioned about professional learning communities, so I think that may address problems. Coming to the next slide, if we see some more challenges are, I mean, curriculum integration. So at this juncture, time system large post is come to do BEd. So definitely they have certain kind of mastery over the content, but in ITEP simultaneously 3 things we have to do. We have to ensure that they are having mastery over the content, they are being trained for the pedagogy, as well as skills are being inculcated. In my opinion, it's a very tough job. So again, I mean, what to do? So some solutions I have mentioned. At Aligarh Muslim University, in fact, we have 10 schools, and we already have started doing this. I mean, we have invited them in workshops, and we are just sensitizing them. We are, I mean, somehow sensitizing them towards the pedagogy aspect and all those things. So definitely, I mean, having the trained faculty, it will be a big issue so far as, ITEP implementation is concerned. So inadequate infrastructure, and what to talk of state universities and other institutions even we at central universities are struggling with this infrastructure. So definitely, I mean, we need generous support from the government and somehow from the non-governmental organizations also. Coming to some more challenges, if you see, difficulty in aligning with school internship program, because we have certain kind of global timetable from 8 to 2. So in the ITEP students are required to go to different departments. So at there, I mean, if we are about to send them for internship in the school, so the same time is there. So either they will miss the internship or they will miss their classes in the department we are facing. So somehow, I mean, certain kind of flexibility and institution to institution variation should be there, so that, I mean, we may accommodate both the things. Coming to the next challenge, I mean, certain kind of resistance is there. So many of my colleagues, in fact, informally or formally, they say that old system was good. So definitely, I mean, we have mature students, training them is very easy. And somehow, you know, more than 100 years of system we have. So immediately moving from a old system to a new system, so certain kind of risk there. So I think, again, sensitization is required for that. Some more challenges, if you see, assessment is a difficult challenge. I mean, and in this context, technology definitely can help us. Already we have started using technology, so many artificial intelligence tools, and I think this difficult challenge might have some solutions. We have, you know, limited learning. I mean, if you see National Education Policy 2020, it emphasizes a lot on multidisciplinary. Actually, multidisciplinary is not so easy. I mean, it has its own complications. It has its own problems. I think last two more I have mentioned. So if you see, yeah, constraints, of course, I mean, nothing can be done without generous financing. So I mean, it's a challenge. So certain kind of financing is, and last challenge, if you see, quality and institutions. I mean, some institutions have very good quality, some institutions have good quality. So your own institutions are, I mean, we have grown seeing your work. I mean, the very preliminary thing that we have studied in our research was your findings and all those. So such type of institution, definitely they have very good standard, they have very good quality, but we can't say that every institution has the same quality. So this there. So again, certain kind of monitoring and strict, you know, implementation of all those things are required. So in my opinion, these are the have been collected. We might have the solution of these problems. So thank you very much for. Thank you.
So, this presentation is very important to us because being the part of NCT national level, we are more concerned about how to make this item impactful at the grassroots. And practice like you presenting these ideas will help us position so much. Jasi Ahmed will be again integrated teacher education program as a paradigm shift. Jasim Saab.
Thank you so much, respected Chairperson, Professor K. Pushpandaram, and of course, the coach, Vareja, my fellow speakers, faculty members from MANUU and other universities, and research scholars from MANUU and other universities. It has been a wonderful experience from the last day. It is a very successful international conference. As announced by Chairperson, my talk is about ITEP. That the history of teacher education in India is very old. The first formal teachers training school in India was established in 1793 at Siram, Bengal. in the name of normal school. And so we can calculate that the history of teacher education in India is around 235 years, 235 saal. And if this rich history, despite this rich history of 235 years, we are struggling in the field of teacher education, it is a matter of course, grief and sorrow. But it is about formal teacher education, where teachers are being trained in different colleges of teacher education and previously in normal school. Those days, before that, think about the ancient Vedic period, the Buddhist period, जिस जमाने में नालंदा विश्वविद्यालय हुआ करता था, तक्षशिला विश्वविद्यालय हुआ करता था, कौन उन टीचर्स को ट्रेन करता था? There was no formal training, and despite that, they were teachers, बेहतरीन टीचर्स, जिनको आज भी हम याद हैं. नज्म का 4 बंद पढ़ा और उसी नज्म का मैं कुछ बंद, उससे पता चलेगा कि हमें एक ऐसा टीचर चाहिए, हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा. जब इंसान के पास मसाइल आते हैं, उसका रास्ता, उसका हल खुद तलाशता है. स्कूल के टीचर्स को अपने मसले खुद करने चाहिए कि उन्हें कैसा टीचर बनाना है, कैसी टीचिंग को आगे बढ़ाना है. तरफ चाहिए, बहुत बड़ी जिम्मेदारी है. अब शागिर्द को मंजिल का पता देता है टीचर. आज हम कहते हैं काउंसलर का काम है, गाइडेंस वर्कर का काम, एज ए गाइडेंस वर्कर. नो, बहुत बड़ा काम. मंजिल का पता टीचर देगा बच्चे को. जाना ही नहीं जाना है, टीचर गाइड. अब बीटेक में जाना है, मेडिकल में जाना है, किस फील्ड में जाना है, टीचर की जिम्मेदारी कि बच्चे को आइडेंटिफाई करे. कहते हैं ना, अंडरस्टैंडिंग लर्नर्स, द फर्स्ट टास्क ऑफ द टीचर, अंडरस्टैंड योर स्टूडेंट, योर लर्नर, योर क्लास एंड गाइड देम अकॉर्डिंगली. तभी आप इस बंद पर उतरेंगे. अपने शागिर्द को मन पता देता है, ऐसा दिल भी तो खुदा होता है. टीचर के पास ही ऐसा दिल होता है. जानता खूब है ये बात जमाना, जानता खूब है वो मुदर्रिस है, यानी मौलिम, टीचर, वो मुदर को जमा देता है. बच्चा पैदा होता है, जबान नहीं होती, लेकिन जबान टीचर देता है. माँ में हो वो टीचर, चाहे वो उसका फादर वो फॉर्मल टीचर के शक्ल में हो, लेकिन टीचर इस. मत ये पूछो कि मौलिम ने क्या देता है, जिंदगी देता है खुदा और ये बना देता है. बनाता तो टीचर है, इसलिए टीचर की जिम्मेदारी ऊंची है. लेकिन अब बनेगा इज अ ग्रेट प्रॉब्लम, और उसके लिए देखना पड़ेगा कि हमारा जो टीचर एजुकेशन है आज का, फॉर्मल टीचर एजुकेशन, issues are there in prevailing teacher education in India. What different issues? खास तौर पे आजादी के बाद का जो मसला है, 1947 के बाद, there are so many issues, so many problems. सबसे बड़ा मसला जो है, जो आमतौर पे बात होती रहती है, कि साल भी किया था, टीचर कोई बनना नहीं चाहता है, बीएड करने के लिए मजबूरी में आते हैं. हम लोग जब इंडक्शन मीटिंग में पूछते हैं, अब पता चलता है कि अरे आईएएस का ट्राई किया, यूपीएससी ट्राई किया, बैंक ट्राई किया, रेलवे ट्राई किया, नहीं हो पाया. 5 साल से लगे हुए थे, 8 साल गुजार दिया, और अब टीचर बीएड कर लेते हैं, कम से कम सेफ तो हो जाएगा. एक तो ये शक्ल होती है. दूसरी शक्ल ये होती है कि बीएड कर लो, उसके बाद यूपीएससी की तैयारी करेंगे, कम से कम एक सेफ साइड हो जाए. इसका मतलब है दिस इज नॉट योर चॉइस. यू आर ट्राइंग टू सेव योर फ्यूचर, सेव योर कैरियर, नॉट इंटरेस्टेड टुवर्ड्स learning and teaching the young ones. Greatest problem education. और इसलिए NEP 2020 कहता है पॉलिसी लानी है जिससे कि बच्चे अट्रैक्ट हों टीचर एजुकेशन की तरफ. और दूसरा प्रॉब्लम है रोल ऑफ एक्रीडाइटिंग बॉडी. जो हमारी एक्रीडाइटिंग बॉडी है, जो एनसीटी जानते हैं, बहुत काम आजकल एनसीटी में हो रहा है. जस्टिस वर्मा कमेटी की रिपोर्ट को याद कर लें, आपको प्रॉब्लम पता चल जाएगा. जस्टिस वर्मा कमेटी ने कहा कि भाई ये स्टैंड को बंद कर देना चाहिए, बिकॉज दे आर सेलिंग डिग्रीज, दे आर नॉट डेवलपिंग, क्रिएटिंग, प्रिपेयरिंग टीचर्स they are selling degrees. There were so many non-attending colleges जहां बच्चे क्लास करने नहीं जाते थे और उन्हें डिग्रियां मिलती थी और वही टीचर भी बनते थे. गैप बिटवीन थ्योरी एंड प्रैक्टिस का गैप बहुत बड़ा गैप है हमारे यहाँ. जो बात अभी हमारे चेयरपर्सन ने भी कही, कल भी बात ये आई थी कि हम बच्चे जब बीएड कर रहे होते हैं तो टीएलएम रेगुलर टीचर हो जाता है तो टीएलएम भूल, क्योंकि स्कूल इकोलॉजी अच्छी नहीं है, स्कूल इकोलॉजी खराब हो गई है. मैं तो ये भी सुना हूं, मैं कहते हुए बल्कि सुना कि हमारे बीएड के बच्चे जब जाते हैं स्कूल टीचर्स में, अब बड़ी मेहनत करके पढ़ाते हैं, टीएलएम ले जाते हैं, चार्ट बना के ले जाते हैं, एक्टिविटी प्लान करके ले जाते हैं. जो रेगुलर टीचर होते हैं उनका कमेंट कहा कि अरे सर ये सुनने में आया, बता रहे थे फलाने साहब अभी जब ज्वाइन करेगा ना रेगुलर तो ठीक हो, भूत सवार है उसके ऊपर टीएलएम का. इट मीन्स द एनवायरमेंट ऑफ द स्कूल इज नॉट वेलकमिंग फॉर दीज काइंड ऑफ कॉम्पिटेंट टीचर्स. जो कॉम्पिटेंट टीचर्स है उसके लिए वेलकमिंग एनवायरमेंट नहीं है स्कूल के अंदर, उसको वेलकमिंग बनाने की जरूरत है. वो एक बड़ा अपने आप में मसला है. कंटेंट और पेडागोजी का अपने आप में बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है. दोनों के बीच में लिंकेजेस 5 साल 6 साल 7 साल पहले बीएससी किया है, अब वो बीएड में आ रहा है तो कंटेंट तो भूल चुका, जैसे हम लोग भूल गए हैं वाले टीचर्स, कंटेंट भूल जाते हैं हम लोग भी. अब ये सारे के सारे दीज आर द इश्यूज. एक और मसला है, बहुत बड़ा मसला, lack of coordination. You may be having experience. Many of our research scholars come to us with a problem that waiting for data collection for the research process. The school is saying, go to the Directorate of Education, get permission of DOE, then we will allow. And they don't give permission. देते नहीं, डाटा कलेक्ट नहीं करने देते. कई सारे स्कूल परमिशन नहीं देती. There must be coordination among all stakeholders, institutions. हमारे बच्चे जब स्कूल जाएं डाटा कलेक्शन के लिए, प्रिंसिपल्स को और डायरेक्टर ऑफ एजुकेशन को फौरी परमिशन देना चाहिए, रोकना किसी भी हालत में नहीं चाहिए, और सारे डाटा देना चाहिए. डाटा मस्ट ट्रांसपेरेंट. अब सवाल यह है कि ये सारी बीमारियां, दीज आर द डिजीज, ये बीमारियां हैं, तो इनका इलाज क्या होना चाहिए. और हमें लगता है कि एनईपी ने इलाज बताया है. 2020 NEP इलाज बताया. देयर आर ट्रीटमेंट्स. नेशनल करिकुलम फ्रेमवर्क 2009 also a solution of this problem. The title of the National Curriculum Framework 2009 was NCF 2009 towards preparing professional and human teachers. दोनों चीज, what our chairman was saying, professionalism, development of professionalism is very important. Professional learning community. In addition to that, NCF 2009 tell that human teachers are required. आजकल क्लास में देखिए कई सारे वीडियोस आते हैं, बच्चे को इस तरीके से मारा कि उसका काम, रिलीजन के नाम पर परेशान किया, बच्चों को परेशान कई बार किया जाता है. वैल्यू आती है वीडियोस. टीचर्स को ह्यूमन होना ज्यादा पहले एक अच्छा इंसान बने, फिर जो अच्छा इंसान नहीं है वो अच्छा टीचर कभी जिंदगी में नहीं बन सकता. अखलाकियात, एथिक्स, मोरालिटी, उन सारी चीजों की बात, तो वो सारी की सारी चीजें. और इसलिए आईटेप उसके हल के तौर पे है. आईटेप के अंदर वो सारी की सारी बीमारियों का इलाज एटलीस्ट लिखा हुआ है एनईपी के अंदर और आईटेप के करिकुलम के अंदर, कि मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरी होगा, वैल्यूज बेस्ड होगा, ट्राइबल कम्युनिटी का भी फैसला करेगा, रूरल इसका आउटरीच होगा, है ना, ये सारी चीजें हैं. लेकिन कुछ चीजें ऐसी हैं तो खास तौर पे ध्यान देने की जरूरत है. अगर एनईपी 2020 को फुल स्टॉप पर कॉमा के साथ अगर आईटीएप इंप्लीमेंट हो तब तो इलाज नजर आता है. लेकिन एनईपी में जो कुछ दिया हुआ है उसके किसी कॉमा को हटा दीजिए और फुल स्टॉप को हटा दीजिए और सिर्फ आईटीएप अलाउ कर दीजिए तो बीमारी खत्म होने वाली नहीं है. जैसे एनईपी ये भी कहता है कि फॉर अट्रैक्टिंग मेरिटोरियस स्टूडेंट्स टुवर्ड्स टीचिंग प्रोफेशन, merit based scholarship will be given to all ITEP students. ये एक प्रोविजन है. 4 ईयर ITEP प्रोग्राम में स्कॉलरशिप होगा. वो चीजें और दिया जाए. रूरल स्कूल्स के लिए प्रेफरेंशियल एम्प्लॉयमेंट दिया जाएगा, उनको रहने का इंतजाम रहेगा वहां, और उसको एक्स्ट्रा बोनस दिया जाएगा। These are the very good provisions. अगर उन सारी चीजों पर अमल किया जाए तो शायद बीमारी का इलाज हमें मिल सकता है। अगर ITEP को लेटर एंड स्पिरिट में इंप्लीमेंट किया जाए, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए पूरा पैसे दिए जाएं कॉलेजेस को, यूनिवर्सिटीज को, ताकि कोई बच्चे को प्रॉब्लम नहीं हो, टीचर्स का अपॉइंटमेंट हो जाए प्रॉपर तरीके से हो, उसकी प्रॉब्लम नहीं हो, यानी मैन पावर की डेफिसिट नहीं होना चाहिए, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का डेफिसिट नहीं होना चाहिए, तब तो सॉल्यूशन है उसके अंदर। और अगर इसकी कमी रह जाएगी तो दिक्कतें फिर हम लोग को आएंगी। मैं दो बातें सिर्फ कहना चाहता हूं। एक तो ये कि कंप्लीट इंप्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ ITEP विथ फुल स्टॉप एंड कॉमा, एवरी रिक्वायरमेंट मस्ट बी फुलफिल्ड। और नंबर दो, जो इनोवेटिव एक सोच है हमारी, हम समझते हैं कि शायद इस प्लेटफॉर्म से ये बात मैं कहना चाहता हूं, हमें टीचर एजुकेशन को ठीक करने के लिए एक जरूरी है कि टीचर एजुकेशन में आने के लिए स्कूल टीचिंग का एक्सपीरियंस शुड बी मस्ट। एवरी स्कूल टीचर, है ना, फॉर प्रूवन स्कूल टीचर, 5 साल की ट्रेनिंग के बाद स्कूल में जब रहे, पढ़ाए, प्रूवन टीचर्स हो, प्रूवन स्किल्स हो, प्रूवन एकेडमिक अचीवमेंट हो स्कूल टीचर्स का, डोर शुड बी ओपन फॉर देम टू कम टू टीचर एजुकेशन। उसके लिए पॉलिसी बनाई जा सकती है। जब स्कूल टीचर से BEd करने के बाद, टीचर एजुकेशन करने के बाद, डिग्री लेने के बाद स्कूल में जाएगा, 5 साल 10 साल काम करेगा, खोल के रखिए कि वो हायर एजुकेशन लेता रहे, PhD करता रहे, उसके लिए अलाउ किया जाए। फिर वहां से जो प्रूवन टीचर्स है वो अगर टीचर एजुकेशन के अंदर इन करेगा टीचर ट्रेनिंग कॉलेजेस में, तो होपफुली कैन बी सॉर्टेड आउट। विद दीज वर्ड्स, थैंक यू सो मच and wish you all the best.
Thank you, Professor Jasim Saab. You put your points very clear. One is the potential of integrated teacher education program. And the second most important is how this program can really attract the best talent. Therefore, the good teachers can really and act. Thank you so much for your presentation. The next speaker, Dr. Riaz Ahmad. He will be talking about reimagining higher education through digital transformation for sustainable futures. Riaz Saab, if you can complete within 7 minutes, we'll be very happy. Riaz Saab, if you can complete within...
Am I audible, sir? Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, please. Please proceed.
Hello? I would like to share my screen. 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 There is an echo. Anyways, I think it's not working. Sharing is not working. So, respected stars on the dais, I would like to begin with the say that हर जर्रा जिस जगह है वहीं आफ्ताब है. This is just to shorten my introduction to all of you. I am Dr. Riaz Ahmad from Horizon University, and I am thankful to especially Professor Vanaja Madam, who invited me and gave me a chance to speak on this huge platform. So I'm really thankful to her. But I would not forget to thank all those people who have been a part of this program. I also extend my appreciation to the entire organizing committee and all colleagues who have worked diligently behind the scenes to make this conference possible. It is a privilege to be here among a community of researchers and faculty members dedicated to knowledge creation, academic excellence, and meaningful impact. Today, I would speak about the turning point in higher education. I have been listening to distinguished speakers just now from the last 1 hour. Whatever I have found, they have really pointed out, given a very, very, very important point from the NEP-2020. And I would like to add here one incident when in one of the program in outside India, the Palki Sharma TV presenter just cited a reference of India's situation, a digital scenario. So she mentioned that even vendors are using the digital way of payment. So she has already tried to show the India's preparation for digitization. So keeping this in mind, I am going to talk about this scenario. But here I am going to add not only digitization, but also I would like to add it should be sustainable development. So my topic, as the chairperson already mentioned to you, so I'm going to talk about not only one phase, digitize the teaching learning process, but also make it sustainable. And these two are supposed to converge together. So question is now how to converge these things. So I would like to start with this question: how digitally advanced is our institution? This is a good question. We must also ask what are the sustainability consequences of that digital advancement, environmentally, socially, and ethically. Conversely, it is no longer sufficient to ask how sustainable is our campus. We must also ask how digitally mature are we, and does our digital maturity actually enable sustainability rather than undermine it? So this is the question with which we are going to move forward to solve this problem. So question is now coming up, why this convergence is happening now? Because traditional higher education models are under strain, from demographic transitions and financial constraints to rising expectations for flexibility and access. Overlay that with climate risk, and we begin to see why the classic resource intensive campus plus limited access model is being challenged. So this was the reason behind moving towards digitization, but this transition is not automatically virtuous. This is also the point to think. It is full of contradiction. Digital tools can reduce commuting emissions and optimize energy use, yet they can also increase e-waste, expand energy hungry data centers, and deepen inequality through the digital divide and algorithmic bias. So the central question becomes, how do we navigate digital transformation responsibly so it strengthens sustainability rather than producing new forms of harm? So we need a structural platform. So we need to have a structured way to think about the problem. So the number one that is included in this structure is going to be learning in a digital sustainable era. So first, consider what learning becomes when technology and sustainability pressures reshape the environment. This is the point to keep in mind. A useful lens or to address this problem is the method of connectivism. Learning as the ability to build and traverse networks of information, people, and disciplines. Sustainability challenges, which include climate adaptations, public health, inequality, are not solvable within a single disciplinary silo. They require a system thinking and cross-domain knowledge integration. Along this, I want to emphasize the learning ecology perspective. Education as an ecosystem. In this ecosystem, biotic elements, which are students, faculty, communities, interact with abiotic elements, which is technology, infrastructure, curriculum design, policy, and learning spaces. When the abiotic environment changes rapidly, the entire educational system shifts. So, furthermore, we want to do a teaching competency also needs upgrade. What is that? That we have been practicing TPAC, but we have to move it to sustainable TPAC. TPAC means what? Technological, pedagogical, and content knowledge to define teaching capability in digitally mediated learning. So we need what we might call sustainable TPAC, where educators evaluate not only institutional effectiveness, but also the social and environmental adopt. For example, bandwidth demands unintentionally exclude low connectivity learners. This is a great question to answer. Do device requirements accelerate turnover, feeding the e-waste stream? Another important question. Do platform data practices compromise privacy and institutional trust? This is the most important question. So this is the shift from can I use this tool to should I use this tool. So this is a kind of sheet which we have to take into consideration. So we are now going to move forward to from theory to a tangible smart campus as a living laboratory. So this is going to come up as a solution, how to manage all what I have mentioned as a constraint, but we need to define what we actually mean by smart campus. A smart campus is not merely a campus with Wi-Fi. This is very too much confusion in the mind of the common people that smart campus means campus with Wi-Fi. It is in fact a data-driven environment that uses IoT, Internet of Things, sensors, analytics, and AI to optimize energy, space, mobility, and safety. So all of this makes a smart campus. But another important thing to note down is one of the most immediate gains is energy efficiency. This is very important. So traditional campus buildings often waste energy. If the once the person is responsible switch it on, it continue to light is on, the AC is on. So traditional campus buildings often waste energy because lighting, cooling, and heating follow fixed schedules regardless of occupancy. But smart systems respond dynamically to real-time data, temperature, humidity, carbon dioxide levels, and actual usage patterns in real time. So there is a saving of all of these. And importantly, this is not only an operational story, it connects directly to the learning quality because the temperature also affects the learning. So now more than transformative idea is the campus as a living laboratory. Instead of separating operation from teaching and research, universities can open infrastructure data appropriately governed to student and faculty. So this can be made easily possible on the smart campus. Engineering students can study microgrids and building energy system. Computer science students can optimize mobility and scheduling. Social scientists can examine surveillance, ethics, consent, and trust. Business and policy scholars can evaluate cost, benefit, and scenario implications. So also we have to take care of the decarbonization promise and the digital is green fallacy. We always think that we decarbonization means green. This is digital green, which is a fallacy. How is that? There are real gains through reduced commuting, lower building usage, and reduced travel. The carbon advantage is particularly relevant to international education, where digital models can support internationalization at home without constant flight. But there is the caution. Digital does not automatically means green. So there is a rebound effect. There is a rebound effect. So how to address this rebound effect? We have to introduce digital frugality. Digital frugality means discipline, intentional technology choices. Sustainability is also social because the time constraint. I'm just going a little fast. So sustainability is also social, equity, well-being, and the modern digital divide. At this stage, we must broaden sustainability beyond environment. A sustainable university must advance equity aligned with SDG 4, equality education for all. So we have
Please start your presentation.
Start your presentation. Start your presentation. Start your.
Okay, that's all right.
Hello. Hello.
That is the, okay, two systems are working.
I'm just confirming, is it my turn, please?
Yeah, Dr. Nazia Jaffu Khan, please.
Yes. Actually, there was no
Dr.
sound.
Nazia Jaffu Khan,
Yes.
please,
Adab.
please
Adab.
unmute.
आदाब। मेरा नाम नाजिया जाफू खान है। मेरा ताल्लुक मॉरिशस से है। मैं 2013 से महात्मा गांधी इंस्टीट्यूट के शोबे उर्दू में दर्स व तदरीस के फ़राइज़ अंजाम दे रही हूँ। सुदूर हजरात की इजाज़त से मैं अपना मकाला पेश करना चाहूँगी। मेरे मकाले का उन्वान है 21वीं सदी में मॉरिशस के उर्दू असातिज़ा की तरबियत। मॉरिशस के लिए उर्दू एक गैर मुल्की ज़बान है। यहाँ की मादरी ज़बान क्रियोल है, जो फ्रांसीसी ज़बान की बिगड़ी हुई शक्ल में है। सरकारी ज़बानें अंग्रेज़ी और फ्रांसीसी हैं। उर्दू हमारे आबा व अजदाद की ज़बान है, जो 2 सदियां कबल हिंदुस्तान से हिजरत करके यहाँ आए थे। मॉरिशस की आबादी 13 लाख है और यहाँ पर कम ही बच्चे उर्दू सीखते हैं। इनमें तकरीबन सारे मुसलमान ही हैं। बाज़ मुस्लिम बच्चे अरबी ज़बान का इंतखाब करते हैं या फिर क्रियोल। दिन ब दिन उर्दू मुतअल्लिमीन की तादाद कम होती जा रही है। मॉरिशस के तकरीबन सभी इब्तिदाई स्कूलों में उर्दू की तदरीस होती है। सानवी सतह पर भी कई कॉलेज हैं जहां पर उर्दू ज़बान व अदब का दर्स होता है। आला सतह पर महात्मा गांधी इंस्टीट्यूट वो वाहिद इदारा है जहां पर डिप्लोमा इन उर्दू, BA ऑनर्स उर्दू कुल वक्ती और जुज़वक्ती तौर पर पढ़ाई जाती है। जुज़वक्ती तौर पर MA का कोर्स भी होता है। ये सारे कोर्सेज यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ मॉरिशस के इश्तिराक से चलाए जाते हैं। मॉरिशस इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ एजुकेशन यानी MIE बइश्तिराक महात्मा गांधी इंस्टीट्यूट यानी MGI उर्दू असातिज़ा के लिए तरबियती प्रोग्राम चलाता है। टीचर्स डिप्लोमा प्राइमरी, पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट सर्टिफिकेट इन एजुकेशन कुल वक्ती और जुज़वक्ती, B.Ed प्राइमरी, डिप्यूटी हेड टीचर इन सर्विस कोर्स और डिप्लोमा इन एजुकेशनल सुपरविजन एंड इंस्पेक्शन प्रोग्राम के जरिए इब्तिदाई और सानवी स्कूलों के असातिज़ा की तरबियत होती है। तरबियती प्रोग्रामों के निसाब में कई मौज़ूआत शामिल हैं जो MIE में पढ़ाए जाते हैं। सिर्फ उर्दू का मौजू MGI में पढ़ाया जाता है क्योंकि सिर्फ यहीं पर एशियाई ज़बानों की तदरीस और तरबियत होती है। ये बात वाज़ेह रहे कि तरबियती प्रोग्रामों को इस तरीके से बनाए गए हैं कि उर्दू असातिज़ा महज उर्दू ज़बान की तदरीस तक ही महदूद ना हों। वो दीगर मज़ामीन में भी महारत हासिल करते हैं ताकि खाली औकात में वो जनरल पर्पस यानी GP असातिज़ा की जगह ले सकें या उनका हाथ बटा सके। असातिज़ा की तरबियत के दौरान कई मसाइल खड़े होते हैं। सबसे संगीन मसला ज़बान है। चूँकि उर्दू हमारे लिए गैर मुल्की ज़बान है, इसलिए इसको सीखने में कई दुश्वारियाँ सामने आती हैं। उर्दू असातिज़ा आपस में उर्दू नहीं बोलते तो उनकी ज़बान भी अच्छी नहीं होती। सिर्फ किताबों से सीखना काफ़ी नहीं होता, इसका रोज़मर्रा इस्तेमाल भी निहायत ज़रूरी है, तब जाकर ज़बान में महारत हासिल होगी। मॉरिशस में उर्दू की तशहीर कम और अंग्रेज़ी और फ्रांसीसी ज़्यादा है। गैर मुल्की ज़बान के तौर पर उर्दू पढ़ाने का सबसे मौसर तरीक़ा गुफ्तगू है। बातचीत को वसीला तालीम बनाना अज़ हद ज़रूरी है। ये उर्दू सिखाने का आसान और सहल तरीक़ा है। सबसे पहले गुफ्तगू ज़रूरी है, इसके बाद पढ़ना और आखिर में लिखना। उर्दू ज़बान में ऐसी चंद आवाज़ें हैं जो दूसरी ज़बानों में नहीं पाई जाती हैं, जैसे कि खे, डाल, रे, ये और गैन। जब बाज़ असातिज़ा उन आवाज़ों की सही अदायगी नहीं कर पाते तो तालिब इल्मों से ये तवक्को रखना बहुत दूर की बात है। लिहाजा इस पे मज़ीद काम करने की ज़रूरत है। मॉरिशस में उर्दू पढ़ाने के लिए तर्जुमे का तरीक़ा भी इस्तेमाल करते हैं। ये गैर ज़बानदां को पढ़ाने लिखाने का कदीम तरीक़ा है। यहाँ पर ज़्यादातर अंग्रेज़ी का इस्तेमाल करते हैं और छोटे बच्चों के लिए ज़्यादातर क्रियोल का इस्तेमाल होता है। اس طرح بچے اردو کے ساتھ ساتھ دوسری زبانیں بھی سیکھتے ہیں اور ان کی معلومات میں اضافہ ہوتا ہے۔ بہرحال ہر زبان کی صرف و نحو مختلف ہوتی ہے، اس لیے بعض اوقات ترجمے میں دشواریاں پیدا ہوتی ہیں۔ نیز مترادف الفاظ کے نہ ملنے پر ترجمہ کرنا مشکل ہوتا ہے۔ جملوں کی ساخت برابر نہ ہونے کی وجہ سے کبھی کبھی مفہوم ہی بدل جاتا ہے اور یہ کافی سنجیدہ معاملہ ہے۔ تربیت کے دوران اساتذہ کو اس بات پر توجہ دلانا بہت ضروری ہے۔ ہر طریقہ تدریس میں کمی بیشی ضرور ہوتی ہے۔ کون سا طریقہ کب استعمال کرنا ہے یہ جاننا نہایت اہم ہے۔ استخراجی طریقہ تدریس یعنی ڈیڈکٹیو ٹیچنگ میتھڈ جو روایتی طریقہ ہے پڑھانے کے عام اصول کے خلاف ہے۔ جدید طریقہ تدریس میں استقرائی طریقہ یعنی انڈکٹیو میتھڈ آف ٹیچنگ رواج پا رہا ہے۔ نفسیاتی اعتبار سے یہ طریقہ طالب علموں کے لیے موزوں ہے۔ اساتذہ کی تربیت کے دوران ان میں وہ جذبہ پیدا کرانا چاہیے کہ وہ جدید طریقہ تدریس کا استعمال کریں۔ تدریسی امدادی اشیاء سبق کو پڑھانے کے لیے معاون ثابت ہوتی ہیں۔ ان کے استعمال سے تدریس مؤثر اور بامقصد ہوتی ہے۔ سبق بآسانی ذہن نشین ہوتا ہے، وقت کی بچت ہوتی ہے اور پختہ کاری یعنی کنسولیڈیشن بھی ہوتی ہے۔ روایتی امدادی اشیاء جیسے کہ درسی کتب، تختہ، تعلیمی تاش، چارٹس وغیرہ کا استعمال برسوں سے چلا آ رہا ہے، لیکن 21ویں صدی میں ٹیکنالوجی کے میدان میں جو انقلاب برپا ہوا ہے اس کا اثر طریقہ تدریس پر بھی ہوا ہے۔ آج کل اسکولوں میں پروجیکٹر کا استعمال ہو رہا ہے۔ ارلی ڈیجیٹل لرننگ پروگرام کے تحت ٹیبلٹ کے ذریعے آموزش ہو رہی ہے۔ لیپ ٹاپ اور اسمارٹ فون کا کثرت سے استعمال ہو رہا ہے۔ نئی ٹیکنالوجی کے استعمال سے بچے جماعت میں متوجہ رہتے ہیں۔ ان کے ذخیرہ الفاظ، یادداشت اور شعور میں اضافہ ہوتا ہے۔ ان کے ذہن پر خوشگوار اثرات مرتب ہوتے ہیں۔ سمعی و بصری امدادی اشیاء کے استعمال سے متعلمین میں شوق، دلچسپی، جوش اور ولولہ پیدا ہوتی ہے۔ لہٰذا دوران تربیت اساتذہ کو اس طرف متوجہ کرانے کی ضرورت ہے۔ موریشس میں 2025 سے مصنوعی ذہانت کا استعمال عام ہونے لگا، خاص طور سے تعلیم کے میدان میں۔ اردو زبان کی تدریس و آموزش میں AI کی اہمیت دن بدن بڑھتی جا رہی ہے۔ لہٰذا اساتذہ کی تربیت کے دوران مصنوعی ذہانت پر مہارت حاصل کرانا اشد ضروری ہے۔ 2026 میں موریشس سرکار کی پالیسی کے تحت سارے یونیورسٹی کے طلباء اور اساتذہ کو AI پر ایک آن لائن کورس کرنا چاہیے، جس کے ذریعے وہ مصنوعی ذہانت کی بنیادی مہارتیں سیکھ سکیں اور اس سے فائدہ اٹھا سکیں۔ اردو کی تدریس و آموزش میں چیٹ باٹس، چیٹ GPT اور ترجمہ کے دیگر ایپس بہت مفید ثابت ہوں گے۔ بلا شبہ مصنوعی ذہانت انسانی تاریخ کا سب سے بڑا ٹیکنالوجیکل انقلاب ہے، چنانچہ اردو اساتذہ کی تربیت میں مصنوعی ذہانت کا دخل لازمی ہو گیا ہے۔ المختصر اردو اساتذہ کی تربیت پر مبنی نصاب کو اثر نو دیکھنے کی ضرورت ہے۔ اس میں نیاپن لانے کا فوری تقاضا ہے، تبھی ہم عالمی تدریس و آموزش سے قدم ملا پائیں گے۔ تعلیمی If we teach today's students as we taught yesterday's, we rob them of tomorrow. شکریہ۔
Ramnath ji to
Namaskar. May I begin?
Yes, sir.
May I begin? Thank you. So I want to take my lead from one of the previous speakers who spoke about people forcefully going into the B.Ed program. So there's a phrase which usually says, those who can do, those who can't teach. Educators have provided a counter version for this. They say those who can do, those who understand teach. Even better is those who can do, those who can't teach, and those who can't teach criticize. So, good morning to everybody. My presentation this morning is on navigating curriculum discrepancies, a comparative study of global curriculum, ideologies, and NEP 2020's multidisciplinary vision. So, India's NEP 2020 represents a significant paradigm shift from a rigid, rote-based system to a holistic, multidisciplinary model of education, with teacher education positioned at the center of reform through initiatives such as the 4-year ITEP and the transition of a standalone teacher education institutions into multidisciplinary hubs by 2030. However, despite this ambitious vision, a gap persists between policy intent and institutional implementation, as fragmented governance structures, curriculum misalignment, and operational complexities threaten coherence and integration. So my paper examines these tensions by comparing global ideological trends in curriculum reform with NEP 2020 mandates, drawing on classical curriculum theory and applying the national driven curriculum rationale NDCR framework to analyze content-driven, outcomes-driven, and needs-driven orientations. In doing so, it seeks to propose ways of reconciling outcomes-centered policy demands with broader needs-driven imperatives, such as decolonization and multidisciplinary integration, ultimately offering a roadmap for collaborative and coherent teacher education reform. To understand these complexities, this study utilizes the national-driven curriculum rationale and the TPAC framework to analyze how ideologies translate into classroom practice. The NDCR categorizes curriculum motivations into content-driven rationales, focusing on subject mastery, outcomes-driven rationales, focusing on standardized performance, and needs-driven rationales, centered on the learner and societal transformation. Meanwhile, the technological pedagogical content knowledge TPAC framework evaluates the readiness of educators to integrate digital tools responsibly within multidisciplinary pedagogy. These frameworks identify why outcomes-centered policy constraints often clash with needs-driven imperatives like decolonization and integration. So between 2021 and 2025, South African curriculum, scholarship, and policy reveal a dominant outcomes-centered ideology, as analyzed through the NDCR. Policy and implementation frameworks, particularly in the TVET sector, which is a higher education sector which deals with vocational education and training, they continue to prioritize prescribed learning outcomes, measurable competencies, and standardized assessment practices. And the structure of qualifications, such as the NCV, the National Qualification Vocational Certificate, reflects this emphasis on performance indicators and pass thresholds, reinforcing accountability but often contributing to a narrowing of the curriculum. In practice, lecturers may focus on easily accessible content at the expense of deeper conceptual engagement,
illustrating how institutional performance pressures shape pedagogical decisions. At the same time, recent scholarship signals a growing shift towards needs-driven and decolonial imperatives that foreground social justice, indigenous knowledge, and contextual relevance. Academic discourse increasingly calls for rethinking the purpose, content, and methods of education to address historical inequities and empower marginalized learners. However, this transformative agenda operates within the constraints of enduring historical legacies and fragmented government structures, such as the bifurcated systems overseen by different education departments. The result is an ongoing tension between bureaucratic, outcomes-based demands, and the broader transformation goals, leaving educators navigating a disconnect between immediate compliance requirements and the aspiration for holistic, multidisciplinary, and socially responsive education. So, South Africa's dual governance education system is divided between the Department of Basic Education and the Department of Higher Education and Training. And it has produced significant curriculum misalignment, particularly in vocational mathematics education. Although the NCV, the National Certificate Vocational, is formally regarded as equivalent to a school-based mathematics curriculum, practitioners report disparities in content depth, sequencing, and progression. So this disconnect reflects the dominance of outcomes-centered ideologies in policy and implementation, where standardized performance indicators are prioritized over the complex transitional needs of students moving between basic and higher education sectors. As a result, systemic incoherence undermines continuity and creates persistent.
Please conclude.
Please conclude.
Okay. So these discrepancies have serious implications for specialized pedagogy and teacher education readiness. In TVET context, lecturers often reteach foundational and mathematical concepts, while some strategically avoid challenging topics to meet institutional pass rates. So the success of NEP 2020 hinges on achieving ideological alignment across all levels of governance and practice to ensure equitable pathways for all learners. Institutions must move beyond simple technology procurement to address deeper issues such as professional development, software licensing, and technology scrutiny. It is critical to establish a unified vision through continuous dialogue between different educational departments to resolve the disconnects caused by fragmented oversight. Ultimately, teachers must be empowered as curriculum thinkers who are well equipped and motivated, as they are the central force capable of transforming these policy visions into a vibrant educational reality. Thank you.
The next speaker, Dr. Jamil Ahmed from
The next speaker, Dr. Jamil Ahmed
from Saudi Arabia.
The next speaker, Dr.
Saudi Arabia, and she'll be talking about empowering research through AI and ICT tools, trend and transformation. Dr. Jamil.
A very good morning to all of you. Am I audible? Very good morning to all of you. Am I audible? So can you please see my screen? Okay. So first of all, I am very thankful to the organizers of this conference, NEP 2020 Future Pathways. And I will talk about empowering research through AI and ICT tools, trends and transformations. So
in this talk, I will discuss about the types of research and what is the definition of research. Then what are the tools, basically AI tools that are empowering the research in pre-data analysis, data analysis, and post-data analysis. So after that, I will discuss about the tools which can be used in research writing, research writing in the form of reports, theses, and manuscripts, followed by publishing and dissemination process, and research collaboration, and finally, research acceptance. So here I will give you a small definition for research. So we all know that research is the systematic inquiry to discover new knowledge. So this is a definition given by Creswell in 2014. And we can also say that research include synthesis and analysis of previous research to extent that it can lead to new and creative outcomes. And whenever we start any research in the form of thesis, dissertation, or manuscript writing, so in that case, we follow some stages of research. And there are different types of research, starting from descriptive research to experimental research. So we can see a number of research types of research which are given in this slide, and on the right side we can see the stages of research. So finally, because I have less time, so I will just come to this slide to discuss about the tools, and then I will conclude and stop the presentation. So there are number of AI tools which we can use through the research life cycle. So like I have just used a diagram to explain different stages of research. So we have research proposal stage, wherein we identify the general study area, then we choose the research topic and formulate plan and methodology. Thereafter, we undergo research activities through data collection, analysis, and interpretation. And finally, we present our findings in the form of manuscripts, dissertations, or thesis. So in this slide, we can say that starting from idea generation to review and refinement of writing part, we can use a number of AI tools. So from those AI tools, I have selected 2 tools for each category of research. So for idea generation, we can use Liner and Answer This. So these are the 2 AI tools which can empower the research. Then for literature review, we can use Research PAL and SciSpace. Then for data collection, but data collection is based on the type of research. So we can have the data collection, either the primary data or the secondary data. So for data collection, we can use Next Data and No. Then for data analysis, we have 2 other tools, Data Lumio and Bricks. And data analysis, after data analysis, for writing and drafting part, we can use PaperPal and Borium. These are 2 more AI tools. And then for review and refinement, we can use Thesify and Review It. So these are some of the tools which can be used to empower the research. On the right side, you can see there are a number of tools for each stages of research. Now, one question arises here that this is the time of artificial intelligence and large language models in the form of AI tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, and there are a number of generative models. So is it okay to use AI tools in the research? So this is a question which can be taken in such a way that there are 2 views among the researchers, that whether to use the AI tools or large language models for research or during the research, or not to use. So in my opinion, I can say that we can use these tools to assist us during the research process, but we don't have to rely on these tools 100% during the research process. So with this point, I am stopping my presentation. So thank you one and all.
Thank you so much. Friends, the last speaker of this plenary session, Dr. Erland Benedict from he'll be talking about strengthening multidisciplinary collaboration. Not online, it is online. Yeah.
So you can
Okay, thank you everyone, dignitaries on the dais, dignitaries and students and others of the dais. I'm very happy to be here. I have 5 minutes, I understood. I tried to prepare something about what we do in Norway, a concrete example of how we use particular material, for instance, to look at the same issue from many different sides, which is also part of our core curriculum. If you look at something from one methodology, you will find something else than if it's from another one. So my aim here was to give you a presentation about sand and connect sand to the development goals. And the reason I chose sand is that sustainable development and critical thinking is part of the core curriculum for every grade from first to upper secondary in Norwegian school. And sand, if I tell you to think about sand, I think everyone can connect. And in our teacher education, we talk about the didactical angle. The content has to feel relevant to the person who is listening to it. If it doesn't feel relevant, you don't get attention and you probably won't get any learning. So now maybe some of you were thinking about beaches. Some of you might have been thinking about deserts. Some have been thinking about glass. And I had a question there. Did anyone think about AI? We talk so much about AI, but it's completely dependent on sand. If you want to make a microchip, you need to have very fine silica sands to be able to make the wafer that the chip is printed on. And the same for the crucible that you dip the wafer in, you need extra fine sand. So sand is everywhere, and it's the second most used resource in the world after water. But we don't really think about it. It's like the fish, they swim around in the water and they don't think about it. Right now, and concrete, you know, that comes from gravel, sand, and cement. That stands for about 8% of global emissions. And this, of course, will collide if we start looking at the Sustainable Development Goals. Because you need concrete to reach a lot of these development goals. If you want to eradicate poverty, if you want to have growth, you need roads, you need infrastructure, and you need dams. And one of my favorite examples is dams. Because dams, they can tell you a lot of things. If you look at it from the perspective of energy and clean energy and climate goals, it's very positive, right? But if you look at it from an ecology perspective and the nature perspective, then it might not be so good. Like you put up a dam, this hinders a lot of sediment and minerals to pass through the dam, and then the farmer below the dam now has less minerals in his water. So that less mineral-rich water is then put on the farmland, and it's not enough, so it needs to use artificial fertilizer, which we still need fossil fuels to create. So, yeah, and that's how that story goes. Dams are also, you know, concrete projects, and concrete needs maintenance. Most of our built infrastructure needs maintenance, so that about half of everything we take out of the ground goes to maintain built infrastructure. So if we say, like India now, that you are going to build a lot of infrastructure, a lot of rural roads, which is very important for other sustainable development goals, this also means that you lock in future concrete use. These things, they go hand in hand. In the US, they have an infrastructure grade report that comes out every 4th year, and they have 91,000 dams in service. Currently, they get the grade D. That means a lot of concrete needs to be made to take care of these dams. Dams are also geopolitical. So if you look at it from a geopolitical lens, this can be a choke point. For India right now, you're probably a bit worried about the water going down the Brahmaputra. The Chinese are now building that is 3 times the size of the former world's largest dam. And of course, a dam from a geopolitical perspective is very dangerous. It's a possible choke point. So my point with bringing in the sand is that you can use it when you talk to children in early grades, and you can do it in upper secondary, and you can do it in a university. The point is that we try to talk about something, at least have an entrance point that makes for a connection. When you have the connection, if you're in a school, you might have a project, or you might talk to other teachers, like the teacher of natural science can talk about how sand is used in that perspective, and so forth, or you can just use the dam. So I guess if I had 5 minutes, then I'll quit there, and you can probably get the PowerPoint. I struggled hard to make it because I had poor internet. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. This plenary, we had 10 detailed presentations on various themes of education and the future of teacher education. Discuss what should be the curriculum, how it should be delivered, what are our responsibilities, and finally, what kind of future that we are striving for. I think these elements are very, very important, and most of the speakers have presented their ideas and suggested certain ways and means through which we can reach our goals and aspirations to come. So friends, let me congratulate all the speakers for their extensive presentations. They made their points so clear and to the conference theme. And I'm also thankful to the organizers of this conference, MANUU and the Central University of Hyderabad, especially for inviting me here and be the chair of this session. And I also thank all the participants for your patient listening. I am extremely sorry there is no time for you to ask questions, but it is not necessary that you need to ask questions here in this forum. We have certain tea breaks. We also have informal meetings outside. So if you have really a genuine question, you can find your time, you can find your person, and you can start asking questions and establishing network. So with this, I once again very thankful to Professor Vanaja Mahuda for inviting me, and thank you so much. Hand over to you.
Thank you, sir. Now it is time for the recognition of our distinguished delegates as a mark of respect and appreciation. May I request Professor Vanaja M. to kindly present a memento to our esteemed chairperson, Professor K. Pushpanandam, as a token of our deep respect and gratitude. Thank you, ma'am. I now invite Professor K. Pushpanandam, sir, to felicitate Professor Sajid Jamal, sir, by presenting a memento in appreciation of his valuable contributions. Thank you, sir. Once again, I request Professor K. Pushpanandam, sir, to honor Professor Jasim Ahmed, sir, with a memento as a mark of recognition and appreciation. Humbly request Professor K. Pushpanandam, sir, to kindly present a memento to Professor Vanaja M. in acknowledgement of her. Now I invite Professor Vanaja M.M. to felicitate Professor Arundhati by presenting a memento. Okay, ma'am. Sorry. Anuradha, ma'am, as a symbol of our sincere appreciation. Once again, I request Professor Vanaja, ma'am, to kindly honor Dr. Bandik Mayo with a memento in recognition of his valuable presence and contribution. Thank you, ma'am. I sincerely thank the coordinators, organizing team, technical staff, and all the dignitaries present over here for the success of this session. So much. Yes. There is a tea break for 5 minutes, and then we will move to the panel discussion 3. Thank you.